He psychopathically laughing while says, but ripping those hopes to shreds. The moment your expression turns from being optimism to despair, that expression is the only thing that gives him pleasure. After that we see that they starts to fight again on a building with their fight building is collapse many places. Namgung thinks, he don't like this, it's as if his eyes are still filled with hope. He gritted his teeth and hits Hansen with a really power attack. Hansen hits the ground and bounce off again and hits the ground beneath is crumble, his body shakes up because of the shock. Namgung sees him and gets really angry and thinks, he won't have the strength to move now, but why does he still have that look? He attacked him with his sword and says, fall into despair. He cuts Hansen's eyes. Hansen screams with pain and scream, my eyes. He's also at his limit for stamina that fuels his recovery. If he only have one attack he can do after mustering up all his strength, but he can't see. Namgung gets ready to attack again. Hansen thinks, so there's no way that this attack can work. What should he do? Catherine and Maskman runs towards Hansen. She called for him. Hansen hears them and thinks, if they come now, they'll only be slaughtered. Hansen screams and says, no, don't come. Namgung gives an evil smile and says, your comrades, that's the reason why you were still able to have that look. She uses a fireball attack, yet dodges the attack and appears behind her. He hits her in the back with his sword. Blood splash. Maskman screams, Catherine, and swing his hammer bomb with full strength. Namgung dodges his attack easily, then he kicks him in the head. Hansen cry blood tear. Namgung picks Catherine by holding her hairs. In front of Hansen, she says, let go. Namgung hits her with his sword. She screams really loud because of the pain. Namgung says, he can smell you comrades frying. Hansen says, stop you perverted bastard. Namgung gives an evil smile and says, yes, that's a good expression, and he starts to laugh. Shunsuk appears there with a really angry look on his face. He uses an ice magic on Namgung, and he frees him with ice. He grabs Catherine and starts running while healing her. Namgung gets angry and breaks and says, you insect bastard. He breaks the ice and jumps really fast toward them. Shunsuk uses Zorb Ball on Catherine to help her to escape. She goes bouncing really fast. Shunsuk thinks, now he can going to send her as far away as possible, that's the best he can do, and right after he'll hide again. As Shunsuk uses hide magic in half disappears, Namgung grabs him from the head. He hits Shunsuk with a really powerful attack on his back. Hansen thinks, this is no different to that day 7 years ago. Right now he can't protect anyone. After that we see a mouse comes running and there are thousands of mice. Hansen thinks, disaster. Countless mice, which have recognized this fight as a disaster, have come running to the surface, and the one attack he has left. Hansen uses a powerful attack and kills all the mice. Systems said, all possessed souls have been used to recover stamina. Hansen gets back up while absorbing the soul of mice and says, calm down, while Namgung standing with his sword and Maskman kneeling in front of him with grabbing his hand. Hansen says, you Murim pervert. Namgung has cuts the one of the arm of the Maskman, and he is holding that, and says, no, you have better reactions this way. Then there is a dash attack and hits Namgung in the stomach with a powerful fire punch. System says, due to authority fire suppression, the abilities of those who touch the fire will drastically decrease. Sword chi will be sealed for 10 minutes, sword flame will be sealed for 10 minutes, everyone excluding Namgung will be immune to the fire. Namgung goes flying, then it appears Peng Jamon says, I'm China's hero. Peng Jamon, I'm still alive, you damn bastard. Peng picks up Maskman and starts running. He says, since Catherine's fire was used, we're going now. Namgung gets really angry and says till the very end, these insects. He tries to use sword chi. System says, you cannot use sword chi, it is sealed due to skill fire suppression. Namgung gets really angry and says, damn it. He activates forceful battle. Some really big swords falls from the sky around Hansen and Namgung. It creates a barrier. System says, due to the unique trait, forceful battle, a fighting domain has been established with a 30-meter radius. All people beside Hansen and Namgung are prohibited from entering the fighting domain. Hansen is just standing there. Namgung thinks my sword chi is sealed, but he can just combat chi. He jumps towards Hansen to punch him and thinks, what can a blind bastard do? Hansen thinks, when was it? Hansen dodged his attack and thinks, spiritual eyes, which can see attacks outside my field of vision. He thought that was it, including the wall that's created with a 30-meter radius. He can see all the rocks within this area too. To think he can see more things after losing his eyesight. He haven't been using spiritual eyes properly until now. It's as if he opened a third eye. System says, you have discovered the true spiritual eyes. Skill spiritual eyes rank D- has leveled up to B rank. A battle where you have put your life on the line while depending on your senses is in progress. Skill sixth sense rank C+ has leveled up to AB rank. Hansen thinks, sixth sense, which he completely forgot after obtaining it, has evolved and my senses have become clearer. Namgung is surprised and jumps back. Hansen thinks, with this, opens his eyes. He thinks, he can fight on par with Namgung, whose abilities have been decreased. Hansen starts to run toward him. Namgung sees him and thinks, what is this situation? How are his movements improving? And how is his blade getting sharper? Then Hansen uses clandestine shadow step, instant acceleration, wind's grace, and chaotic sword all at once and run toward Namgung. They both dodges each other's attacks. Hansen thinks, even if he use all these skills, they barely on par with each other. It's too risky for him. Hansen is gonna run out of stamina soon and Namgung's decreased abilities will be back to normal in 10 minutes. He need to end this fight while the flame is still there. The one thing that can turn the tables on a close fight is, and Hansen raise his sword, an unexpected variable. Hansen throws his sword with full strength. Namgung smiles and easily dodges the sword. He says, you made a foolish choice because you're cornered. Namgung jumps towards Hansen to punch him. Hansen dodged that punch with back-off move. Then Hansen said, iron-blooded sword. A sword appears right in front of his feet and Hansen stabs him in stomach using his feet. Namgung cough out blood. That sword appears on his back through his stomach. Namgung thinks, admit, it must have touched my dantian. He need to act fast if he want to completely recover later on. System says, authority fire suppression has ended. Unique trait forceful. Battle has ended. Shunsuk is standing outside the barrier with Peng and says, the barrier is going away. Namgung pulls the sword out of his stomach and he says, he was too focused on playing, he will end this fight next time. He bring out a return stone. A gate opens in front of them. Shunsuk sees that and says, a gate? Hansen says, he's trying to go back to the Murim dimension. Namgung starts to walk toward the gate. At that moment everyone felt that if they do not kill Namgung here, it would mean great disaster for Earth someday. They all jumps toward him and says stop him. Namgung sees toward them and says, what, run away? He uses a really strong attack, sword flame. A really big slash attack comes toward them. All the building gets cut into two from the center. Hansen appears in front of them and blocks the attack using counter shield. Shield gets destroyed and one of his arms as well. Catherine says, Hansen, your arm. He says, don't mind this. The enemy is still there. Namgung says, Hansen, he could have killed you from the start in one attack, and do you really want to see this to the end? Hansen gets angry and says, it's frustrating, but he can't say anything to that. Namgung says, he'll come back soon. He walks through the gate to his dimension. Hansen falls to ground. Everyone comes running toward him. We see that Murim Dimension 2 man come toward Namgung and says, you're back, young master. He had coughed out a lot of blood and on his knees. One of them says, young master, are you alright? Hurry and call for a physician. Namgung gets angry and thinks, Hansen, no matter what, I'll drive you to despair. After that we see at the hospital within Tokyo, Hansen opens his eyes. President says, Hansen, are you awake? Hansen gets up and says, where? She says, it's the hospital, you can't move yet, you're badly hurt. While Hansen sees his missing arm, she says, she don't even know what to say. in response to your huge sacrifice. While Hansen unwrapping the bandages, he uses ashen blood, he gets his arm back and all wound healed up and says, he is fine, where are the others? He goes to Catherine's room and says, Catherine, are you okay? Then he see, she is sitting there without cloth, everyone screams. After that we see Chun-suk is barely walking, he sees Hansen and says, Hansen, what's with you face? Hansen has a slap mark on his face. Hansen says, he went to Catherine's room and well, seeing as she's full of energy, she seems to be alright. Then he asked about Maskman. Chun-suk says, he only saw him in the morning for a little bit, he's probably in a bad state. Right now, he's lost his right arm. Hansen find him and says, you were here. Maskman says, here he comes, the sword phantom is here. Hansen thinks, sword phantom. Maskman says, your left arm, did you hear it using a skill? Han says, yes. Maskman says, what an unbelievable skill, you have knack for surprising people. Well, he sure, you heard. But my right arm couldn't be saved, and seeing to his arm, Han says, he is sorry, if he was stronger, this wouldn't have happened. Then Maskman says, don't worry, he has a skill to make up for it, and show him his diamond or a hand. Han-sun says, he has been climbing the tower like an insane man just for the sake of getting stronger, like he was possessed by something. Maskman, holding cigarette in his finger, says, that's not a bad thing, that's what made you strong, but the strong should help the weak, at least that's the ideal he live by. Hansen says, he learned a lot from this battle, he remembered something important that he had forgotten about. The Maskman finally removes his mask and says, well, he'll relieved, that someone strong like you isn't an ill-intentioned psycho. He couldn't tell what you were thinking when he first met you in the tower. He lit his cigarette and starts to smoke and says, do you want one too? Han-sun says, no, he stay away from smoking and drinking. Hansen is surprised to see him and says, you're. They both see each other. The unmaskman with smile says, right, he forgot to tell you who he is. We see that they all take group picture with the president and some other association member. They take interviews. Hansen gives Catherine a necklace, she thanks him with a bright smile. Everyone leaves Japan and Hansen stays behind. He wears the tailcoat and thinks the tailcoat's design, it must have been upgraded a bit during the repair. The equipment is in perfect condition. Well, since he prevented a calamity from happening, he guess this much service is to be expected. He lays on the bed and says, the 3 days of the returned stone were chaotic. He didn't really want to get this famous. The video of the battle is already everywhere. It was recorded from the Japan Hunter Association's helicopter. Everyone is talking about him on the internet, and some don't believes he was training at White Lotus for 7 years, and some people call him Sword Phantom. He thinks, if this what Maskman meant by Sword Phantom? But to think, the Maskman really was the Lightning Emperor even amongst the 30 Korean S-rank hunters. His nickname was the most powerful. He destroyed gates at a speed other S-rank hunter could not keep up with. He was basically the hero of Korea. Then in flashback he gives Hansen his ID card and says, if something happens you can contact me. He'll be honest, you can look at it as scouting, you can contact me for less serious reasons too, or any other reason. System says. Time over. Hansen gets up and says, well, he'll go become stronger so that he can be deserving of the nickname Sword Phantom. Then returning to the Tower of Trials, he thinks, there's something he learned from the fight against Namgoong that was stamina. He thinks, Ashen Blood is one of the strongest healing skills he have, but it doesn't activate when he don't have enough stamina. It's time he obtain a new stamina recovery skill. Hansen checks the skill in the shop and says, all the skills are kind of iffy. The best way to solve this kind of problem while shopping is to just buy them all. 20,000 points have been spent. He has collected enough points to buy all the skills he need and still have left over. Then he activate authority skill synthesis. Hansen thinks, first he'll synthesize with good dynamics. He combines sunlight absorption and moonlight absorption E-. He'd get a new skill, photosynthesis. Rank C-, a skill window appears. Recovery ability will be increased by 200 when exposed to moonlight or sunlight. User will be able to absorb man through light. He sees that and thinks, alright, its rank went up quite a bit and the two skills pros mixed well together. Now if he mix Calling of Blood here, it'll be great. He combined photosynthesis with Calling of Blood. He gets a new skill called Blood Tinted Contract. User will be able to extract HP, stamina and mana from the blood of a living being that user killed. Hansen says, that one's a failure. The skill's rank didn't go up and the advantages of photosynthesis disappeared. Then system says you have purchased Calling of Blood, 20,000 points have been spent. He says, he just buy the same one. Anyway, he thinks, he'll combine Blood Tinted Contract with Calling of Blood once again. He gets the new skill called Truth Seeker of Blood, rank B. He is surprised to see that B rank skill window appears saying, user will be able to extract HP, stamina, and mana from the blood of a living being, and will gain a strong blood controlling ability, and all blood being lost by the user will be automatically recovered little by little. Han-sun thinks, he can extract HP, stamina and mana from the blood and also control blood. What's that? He cuts his hand to test the ability. He gets excited and thinks, literally controlling blood. He create different weapons with his blood and says, he can make any shape he want. Let's see something like this. He focus on being out a drop of blood. He thinks, he can squeeze blood out even if he don't directly slice into the skin, although he would have to cut into the skin to use a lot of blood quickly. Truth Seeker of Blood, this is gonna be useful, and he put more time into upgrading Eyes of the Truth. He combines more skills and gets a new skill called Flame Dragon Eye, rank A+. Skill window appears saying, skill Flame Dragon Eye, basic effect, the flame dragon's authority will be imbued onto the eye, so that the user can see what cannot be seen, and he checks his sword. He sees Heavenly Blood Demonic Sword. When a user who has reached the realm of sword flame levels up blood chi to the maximum, the ultimate skill will be unlocked. He thinks, sword flame, that was how Namgung Hyuk was able to destroy the entire Shinjuku region. He guess only those who have reached that level can awaken the true ability of the Heavenly Blood Demonic Sword. He thought it was just a pretty good sword. He didn't expect a hidden ability like that. Then system says, entering the 11th floor of the Tower of Trials. Hansen goes through the gates and a man is standing in front of him and he says, welcome to the Temple of Verification. Hansen puzzled. That man is standing on one leg and says, you will now go through the trails given by the God of Verification, and these trails will continue up until your death. You have decided to take to this God's trails despite being just a mere explorer, so you will have to deal with the consequences. Hansen asked, so what do I have to do to clear the first trial? That man says, do you not even know the rules of the trials of Ares' 7 leading gods? Han-sun says, no, thinks that must be the Black Knight's dimension that class invaded the 5th floor. The man says, he'll explain, the trails are simple, prove your body, faith, and mentality. First is the body, the last is mentality, which is the hardest. The way to clear the trials is simple. There will be a high priest waiting for you at each room of the trial. You just need to move forward onto the next room by either killing them or convincing them. Han-sun says, so I just need to get past them regardless of what method he use. The man says, he has explained enough to you, you can come up with your own answers. Then let's begin the first trial, and he jumps towards Hansen really fast. They start to trade punches. Hansen thinks, he must be about the level of a challenger, who earned the pioneer title. Hansen activates skill the Truth Seeker of Blood, gets a drop of blood out of his finger and shot it like a bullet that hits the center of the forehead of the man and he die instant. Hansen thinks, damn, this skill insane. That man dies and falls to the ground. He absorbed the spirit of the priest Johann. Proficiency has been raised 5.8%. Many administrator praising him. Considering their nicknames, he think he got their attention because this trial is related to God. Administrator Iron-Blooded Lord is shocked at you actions. Administrator White Crane Sword Master is upset that you went into the trials without saying anything. Han-sun thinks, what? He has no way to contact the administrators. Then he checked the corpse of that man and take an item from his body and says, there's an item, administrators are watching, impressed and understands him. Hansen uses Flame Dragon Eye, a message popped up saying, mirror containing the High Priest Johann imbued with his divinity, the divinity to create a divine barrier just once. This is the basic information. After that a text appeared that could only be seen through the Flame Dragon Eye. The text says the divinity within the mirror might lead the user to prove his fate. Hansen says, what the hell does that mean? It sounds like just a one-use protection barrier item. Hansen opened the next door and thinks he hoped there are a lot more of the body verifications. Priest in second room says, to think an outsider explorer whose name he don't even know, would make it to here so fast. She is a girl and she says, Johann must be past his days. Hansen says, are you the second trial's priestess? She says, yes. Dear explorer, she is the second trial's priestess Jane. She throws her chair towards him and says, nice to meet you. Ham catch the chair and says, seeing as you use violence, there must also be a verification of the body. She jumps ready to attack Hansen and she says, correct. She swings the sword with her full strength. He dodges easily. Hansen says, this sword chi, it feels like what he used to use back in the day. Hansen activates sword chi master and lightning sword chi. He does a powerful slash attack. She shocked, blood splash. She barely blocks the attack using her sword. She gets injured. She says, how a mere explorer using complete aura. Hansen says, why wouldn't he be able to use it when you can too? She says, God-given divine power, that's how we priests get out powers. She was just surprised that someone without any divine power was using such incredible sword chi. She gets all healed up. She jumps ready to attack him. He thinks it was definitely a lethal injury. Divine power, what an annoying power. Their sword clash. He says, from what he heard from the first priest, apparently he don't need to kill to get through these trials. Is it even possible to change your minds? She says, she doesn't know, maybe if you have some godly persuasion skills. Hansen asked, how many of these bodily trials are there? She says, you're truly arrogant, you're so relaxed, do you think you've already won? She jumps toward him and says, you can ask question like that after you've won. Hansen uses instant acceleration and grabs her against the wall and says, he won. She says, what, why like this? He says, now tell me the process of the verification. She says, are you going to attempt something? Administrators shocked at the unexpected question. He says, he's not into that. She laughs and says, that's good. Hansen says, just give me the explanation for the trials. She says, there are now 2 bodily trials left and the proof of faith begins at the 5th trial and ends at the 6th. Then there is only one proof of mentality at the end. She says, but before you challenge that one, you better consider giving up. No one has ever passed the 7th trial. Everyone who entered that trial either went crazy or died bleeding from everywhere. He uses flame dragon eyes and detects no lies. She says, that's it, my last words. Well, let's just say, she hasn't had a good fight like this in a while. Hansen says, if there's a way to pass this place without killing you, then tell me. She says, you can't do that. Hansen says, aren't you afraid to die? She laugh like crazy and says, not at all. She'd just be going back to God. Hansen kills her and thinks, nothing good will come out of stalling this any longer, absorbs the soul of Priestess Jane. Then Hansen opened the next door and there is an old man with the long sword. He pointed that sword and says, he's Lesalian, the future sword of the god of verification. He will test your martial arts from now on, prove that you're worthy of moving on to the next trial. He raises his sword and uses aura blade. Hansen sees that and thinks, it's unstable, but that's definitely sword flame. Hansen gets ready to fight and says, sword flame on the 3rd trial. He might have to risk my life from this point on. The both start to fight with each other. Hansen see him and thinks, something strange, his bodily capabilities and his sword attacks are worse off than mine, so why is my sword chi being destroyed instead? After seeing Namgung's sword flame, he thought, it was an advanced skill maybe, he was just insanely strong and the sword flame still isn't an advanced skill. They keep fighting. they parrying each other. Lesalian says, even if your aura is strong, you cannot destroy this sword. The only ones who can destroy this, are those who can handle that which cannot be seen. Han-sun thinks, he's weaker than me but uses sword flame. This is like, Han-sun gets really excited and says, seeing someone who's dumber than me always do better on tests, that which cannot be seen, my ass, that sword, I'll destroy it no matter what. He jumps toward him ready to attack. Han-sun thinks, I'll destroy it. He cuts his sword and injure him. Lesalian is surprised to see that. Han-sun thinks, he see the difference between sword flame and sword chi. The source of sword flame's power was, a will, that's strong enough to be realized. Lesalian cough out blood, and gets happy and says, your sword flame is a genuine one and not like mine that is unstable because it was borrowed from a god of verification. You really done it. Han-sun sees him and thinks, is he happy? He's more concerned about my accomplishments than his own death. He seems to be driven by some purpose, but whether that is insanity or faith. Lesalian says, to learn so quickly he can almost feel it himself. You have proven you martial arts, continue on just like that. Han-sun cuts his head off and says, he'll ease you pain. He has absorbed the spirit of priest Lesalian. Proficiency has risen 14 exclusive. Authority necromancy's rank is leveling up, necromancy rank B. Han-sun thinks, it's already B rank. He wonder what skills were added this time. System says, when absorbing the spirit of a stronger opponent, you may be allowed to extract an authority. Han-sun is surprised to see that and thinks a skill to extract someone's authority. Necromancy never fails to surprise him, plus it's only B rank and it's this good. He wonder what kind of effects will be added when it gets to an S rank. He checks his stats and thinks his stats are getting close to 3 digits. He absorbs all the priests in his stats permanently increase, absorbing one of the priest. Lesalian's skill, the skill Indomitable Will rank A-. The skill window appears saying Indomitable Will rank A-. Description, person who does not give in to despair and continues to challenge the impossible. He opens to door of fourth trial. He thinks, no one's here. A man is flying above him and says, he guess Lesalian died then. That's unexpected. 4 administrators are warn Han-sun to be careful. Han-sun uses a slash attack. He come down on the ground and says, you don't really want to talk, then we'll begin right away. You fourth trial, he says, he's a priest in training Karen. He will start the verification of the body according to the principles of verification. System says, user has come across a much stronger opponent skill. Indomitable Will is being activated. He bring out some glass-looking weapon and uses an energy beam attack. Han-sun dodges the attack. Energy hits the mirrors around the room and reflects and about to hit Han-sun in the back. Activates Flame Dragon Eye and cuts the energy attack. Han-sun thinks, that light ray it gets reflected on the mirror and is a pain to deal with. He need to attack him before he continues with those light ray attacks. He jumps toward Karen. Karen hits Han-sun with his wings. Han-sun goes flying. Karen gets ready to attack again. Han-sun barely blocks the attack and thinks sword flame is the default now. Karen falls back. Han-sun thinks, this must be his guaranteed win method. He attacks with his light rays from afar. Even if his opponent dodges the rays, the mirrors all over the place reflect the rays from and that the opponent can't see. He then uses his wings to create a force of wind from close up to break his opponent's sense of balance, then counter attacks with sword flame. What a pattern to deal with, but it's also difficult to destroy these mirrors. If smaller piece of the mirror were to reflect the rays, it'd be impossible to dodge all of them. Administrator Overlord of the Heavens is starting to question the difficulty of the 11th floor trial. Administrator Priest of Remorse is shocked that a priest in training is the skill. Administrator Dark Demon wonder how you are going to die. My administrators don't seem very worried. Karen bring out another weapon and says, it won't be easy this time, try and take it if you can. He uses a 4 light rays, they are intertwined and all aim on Han-sun. A big explosion happens. System says, charging complete. Karen is surprised to see him. System says, skill counter shield is prepared to reflect the absorbed damage releases. Han-sun attack him with his red light beam and hits Karen in the stomach. He coughed out blood and says, "What's this?" He didn't see any evidence that you had learned magic. Do you perhaps have God's authority? Hansen says, he don't know what God's authority is. Karen with hole in his stomach says, "You didn't run from the fight nor did you lose. He announced that you have completed all trials for the verification of the body, you are qualified." He falls to the ground. Hansen absorbs the spirit of priest and his proficiency has increased by 13%. System says, as the spirit is stronger than the user, assessment for the absorption of an authority will begin, extracting authority from the spirit. Authority divine power rank C+ will be engraved onto Hansen's soul. He thinks divine power is the power the priests here have been using like mana. He does feel a kind of energy in his heart but he can't move it. It's different from mana. Administrator White Crane Sword Master question why the divine power is in you. Central Danshan. Hansen thinks, is divine power that big of a deal? He absorbed the spirit of priest Karen, his stats will be permanently increased. Hansen gets to the 5th trials. There's an old woman, she says, one wrapped in insanity over marital arts. Hansen thinks, wrapped in insanity? What does that mean? Old woman says, isn't you goal to win, and win again, to infinitely grow stronger and one day become the most powerful? Thinks, I do want to get stronger but becoming the most powerful, isn't she exaggerating? She appears right beside him and says, she's not exaggerating, it's just the end result of your efforts. Hansen is really surprised and swing his sword with full speed. She dodges his attack and stands on his head. She says, this trial isn't to see what you're physically capable of, it's to prove your faith. Hansen gets really angry and swing his sword again. He thinks this kind of movement shouldn't be possible. There are a lot of old women surrounding him. He gets really scared and says, his mind, that she's invaded. Then there are many hand appears which grab Hansen, the hands pulling him. Then there is a big mouth appears to devour him, that mouth eat him. And she said, this flavor? Hansen looking confusing. Then old women said, pass. Hansen said, what do you mean? She says, you move on. She explained the 5th trial starts with metacognition. In other words, only those with a strong will are qualified to look into their minds. She felt that strong will from you, a violent will to slay anyone. If it means you can get stronger, if you intend to kill her, then hurry on with it. Hansen said, he won't do that. She was surprised and asked, why? Hansen said, there is no reason to kill when he has already passed. Why are you asking such an obvious question? She said, how unexpected. Then she praised him and put his hand on his shoulder and says, then goodbye. She hope you'll successfully prove yourself. The Hansen going to a long corridor, then sudden all around slowly turning dark. Hansen thought, black seeped into the mirror surface. Soon enough, he was in a void where he couldn't see even a speck of light. Then sudden a female appears beside Hansen and say, hi. Hansen swing his sword fast but not hit. He hears voice said, you're already in the realm of the mind. Miss Hanier planted a seed on you so that you could fall into the realm of the mind. Hansen thinks about that old woman. Then the female said, correct. Then Hansen tied in the air. That female said, but you don't need to worry too much, she is guarding your body from the outside. Hansen said, that's even more worrying. That female said, oh my, why are you so harsh? Such a rude comment to a lady. While holding a dagger pointed to neck, she said, I could pierce a hole in your throat if she wished. Are you okay with that? Hansen asked, how he's supposed to prove his faith. She smiled and say, look at you all polite. She said, in realm of the mind you just need to look into your own mind realm, then the 6th trial will end. He asked, what do you mean, his own mind realm? She said, a person's mind is largely influenced by a person's faith, but no one can look into that. It's like if you were to close your eyes and look into the void. Hansen asked, so he'll pass if he can see the essence of the mind? She says, correct. Well then, in the name of Eileen and as priestess of the god of verification, she'll begin the 6th 5H trial, and Hansen's beneath turn into water, he sink into deeper and suffocating. She asked, are you surprised? She is sure the pain feels real and you'll have to hurry and find a solution, otherwise, You'll experience drowning without water. Skill Saren mind activate. She surprise. Now Hansen can hold his breath as long as he don't panic. And then he just felt something on his fingertips. She praise him for determined and thinks being able to defend himself even in the subconscious territory. He's really skilled. Then Hansen moved his hand with sword in his hand. She fell to the ground. She think. She keep it a secret that she almost killed him because of that. Now Hansen body senses are slowly coming back. She surprised that he can felt his body in just 2 hours. Hansen also surprised because it's only been a minute. She said, time in the real world passes much faster than here. Hansen thought he need to finish this trial soon because of time limited if 7 days. After Saren mind he activate flame dragon eye. Now he can see something. Now he is standing on a ground. He saw around the an ocean of blood. The female hold her head and says, no way, what is this? Why is the mind realm all visible suddenly? Then he activate wing of steel. Then she asked nervously, are you human? Why are there wings of steel on your back? Hansen fly fast upward. He thinks, his mind realm that he was able to see through flame dragon eye. He really can't understand it, but it looks very twisted and ominous. On ocean of blood above many sword appears. He is watching from above. Then he grab the sword and land on ground that cracks with his power. He asked, did he do this? She said, who else if not you? Administrator White Crane and Blood Monarch happy to see him awake. How can he prove that it's a faith? She said, path of self-acknowledging is proof of faith. To overcome a dark past and become stronger, without losing your humanity. That's what she read from your mind, but being true to your own desire is something the right path to take. Hansen moved toward 7th trial. As he opened the door she said, goodbye explorer. Then he enter 7th trial. There is vast ruin and a broken bridge. Hansen approaching there, then there was a big bright light with black cloud and red lighting. Hansen shocked to see it. That was a big eye on the sky, the god of verification watching him. Then he remembered what priestess said that time. No one has passed the 7th trial. Hansen kneel down with big pressure on him. System says, the god of verification is aware of the existence of challenger Hansen. Hansen cough, he is out of breath. He felt sleepy. Then he realized it's as if he came across an absolute being that he can't resist. His body gives up on survival by itself. All he did was receive its gaze. So this is what a god is. He won't do it anymore. Then he flashback about that day when his parent died. He cry lot. Then he raise his sword and stab his own hand. All healing skills active. He angrily says, he won't do stupid things like getting stepped on helplessly. Then he get up and think, the tower of trial was probably made like this. With greeded teeth he don't know if he's able to cut those eyes in the first place, but if there's even a slight chance. Even if it's just 1 centimeter closer. He'll cut it a mere god. And a big slash throw toward on God's eye. The slash is heading forward but suddenly break apart. The god of verification is impressed by his grit. The god is happy to see a challenger with tough mental strength for first time in a while. The god sees his endless confident gaze and asks for you to verify yourself. Hansen with sweat on his face puzzled. The verification god inform him of the start of the 7th gate. Then it's disappeared. Hansen thinks, things like God really exist? Then a mirror appeared. Hansen thinks, what is this? He stand in front of mirror. System massage appeared. Link with the future you and begin synchronization. He try to touch one point, then it's glow and sudden a big giant mouth open. Verification of the mind is beginning. A verification trial best suited for challenger Hansen has been given. Verify that your belief won't change even in the future. Then a window open, he fall into a castle. Then another person is on the ground. It's Johan from gate 1, he mumbling, my mirror where is it? While him crying, then another scene appears, this place Korea, on Christmas time. Then there he saw the future himself from earlier. He think, how do he get back? Then saw in an ally he cuts his hand. He thinks, what is he trying to do? Then he attacked people with his blood. Hansen shouted, you crazy. System window says, the assimilation ray between the you in the mirror and you forcefully increase by 10%. Hansen felt something, his chest it feels like it's being torn apart, these disgusted mix emotion. Guilty, madness, and rage, then sudden the first gate priest grabs Hansen neck and asked, "You took my mirror?" Then he presses his head with both hand. Hansen is in great pain, it's like something is wrapping his head tightly, all his mind skill been sealed, then Hansen swings sword and cuts priest head into two, half-cut head still says, "Mirror," if his mind skill sealed then he said if he knew it was like this, he would have crossed the line a while ago, he start absorbing soul, then assimilation between them reached 20% he cough out blood then he saw himself absorbing the soul of others, he asked himself, why is he doing something so cruel? He obsess over strength but there's no way he would just do that, on effect of chi deviation his mana circuit proficiency decreased 10%, then he saw himself again, he is in the Murim world and asked the Murim Alliance leader out there now, then, at the very least, he'll spare everyone here, the Murim leader come and introduced him Li Jinhuan he asked, Hansen name but Hansen dashed toward him, the leader prepare, they both clash their swords, then there are many corpses laying on ground, Hansen approach toward leader, leader says, you have killed all the alliance member you said you'd spare, are you not ashamed? Hansen says, not really sloppy guys are just his combat resources, they don't have any more or any less value than that. Then he beheaded him, the assimilation increased 30% he coughed more blood, during the dozen of time that the location in the mirror changed, after the him killed 1,000 and became endlessly stronger, then we see a place where he holding his sword upon a person, that person the Pope of all gods O Ares, will beg for his death, he was in a state similar to a monster, enveloped in madness and only looking to become stronger, then there a place someone begging him to stop now, he already killed all the people of the king please at least spare the king. A crazy monster that never lose, then another place someone begging him. Assimilation increases 40%, he is going to crazy, then it's reached 50%, he thought his assimilation rate keeps increasing, at the end of it, and then we saw he thinks about this kind of feeling. The pleasure from it is no joke, all he thinks with a weird smile on his face.